It's a block party in Cancun, and everyone is invited, everyone except the U.S. and Canada. Leaders from 32 nations agreed to create a new regional bloc that will warm relations between Latin American and Caribbean countries. But what does this mean for U.S.-Latin American relations? Joining us now, Dr. Adrienne Pine, anthropologist and professor at American University. Thank you so much for joining us, especially this late at night.
No problem.
Let's talk about this. The grouping of Latin American Caribbean nations together, U.S. and Canada, gone. What's the deal? What are they talking about? Do you know?
Well, the U.S. and Canada, in particular the U.S., has really made a mess of things this past year with the Honduran coup, and this has not sat well with Latin American countries. And I think that, in particular, we had remarks like the U.S. ambassador to the OAS calling Latin American countries, saying that they were living in a world of magical realism. This was Lou Anselm, and just really kind of insulting imperialist posture towards Latin America. And I think this is Latin America standing up to the United States.
Standing up to the United States, but there was Canada in this equation. Any idea why Canada is not within the mix also?
Well, I think there are two things. There's culturally, there's the Latin American bloc, which certainly has been set apart from the United States by virtue of the fact that the United States really has acted as a colonizer, as an imperialist in the region, and the U.S. hasn't done so to that degree in Canada. But also Canada has acted very much alongside the United States. And currently, Canada is also acting in an imperialist and colonizing fashion, in particular through its mining operations throughout Central America. And so both countries are posing a threat to democracy and the safety of Latin Americans.
Okay. Let's go back to the United States and Latin American countries. Some would say, and for those of us who don't really know the history of all the recent history, especially, the U.S. some would say has really made a mess in Latin America, South America, Central America, hasn't it?
Yes, the U.S. has supported one coup after another. I mean, that's really been the history of the United States in the past century in Latin America. And with Honduras, I think that Latin America really had hoped that the United States would live up to Obama's promise to foster a new era of relations with Latin America and not act with its military and economic interests first and foremost, but rather act according to the democratic desires of the people in Honduras. We saw in this case that was not the case. The United States all throughout the process has supported the de facto government and then supported an election which virtually no other country in the world recognized as legitimate, and now is very, very strongly supporting the continuance of that government without any recognition for the human rights abuses, without any recognition of the control that the military exerts over the country. And I think Latin American countries, again, are saying enough.
So you've talked about the recent example of Honduras, but we're talking about more than Honduras. We're talking about decades of I guess the polite word would be mismanagement in Latin American countries by the U.S.
Absolutely. Prior to Honduras, the most recent coup, and this is significant, was Haiti. And this was completely carried out by the United States. And I think what we're seeing today, the devastation we're seeing today in Haiti, is in large part a result of the lack of democracy in that country, and that lack of democracy is a result of the United States refusing to allow that country to have democracy. Certainly, if there had been a stronger infrastructure, there would have been stronger buildings. If there had been a stronger democracy, there would have been stronger regulations. Not as many people would have died. This is a direct relationship, and it's a life or death thing in the end.
Dr. Adrienne Pine, you are with American University. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you.